In just 23 seconds, one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses went from smiling guest to furious opponent, unleashing a verbal takedown so savage that it left an entire studio audience gasping. What started as friendly conversation exploded into a full-blown war of words, with accusations flying, voices rising, and a dramatic walkout that nobody saw coming. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the explosive moments that happen when celebrities drop their masks. Now let's get into what went down last night. The Jennifer Hudson show was supposed to be another evening of laughs and lighthearted conversation. Julia Roberts walked onto that stage wearing a gorgeous cream blazer, her signature smile lighting up the room as the audience erupted in applause. Jennifer Hudson greeted her with open arms, and for those first few minutes, everything seemed perfectly normal. They talked about Julia's latest film project, shared a few laughs about life in Hollywood, and the energy felt warm and genuine. But underneath that polished surface, something was brewing. Anyone watching closely could see the subtle shifts, the tiny cracks beginning to form. Jennifer's questions started to take on a different tone, and Julia's smile began to feel just a little bit forced. "So, Julia," Jennifer said, leaning forward in her chair with a grin that didn't quite reach her eyes, "there's been a lot of talk lately about some of your past film choices. Some people are saying you've turned down roles that could have gone to actresses of color, and that maybe you've benefited from a system that wasn't exactly fair to everyone." The audience went quiet. You could feel the temperature in the room change instantly. Julia's expression shifted from relaxed to guarded in a heartbeat. She straightened up in her seat, and when she spoke, her voice was measured but firm. "I'm sorry. What exactly are you asking me?" Julia said. Jennifer shrugged, still maintaining that same smile. "I'm just saying what people are talking about. There's a conversation happening about privilege in Hollywood, and your name comes up sometimes. I think it's fair to address it, don't you?" Julia took a breath, clearly trying to maintain her composure. "Jennifer, I've spent my entire career working hard and choosing roles that spoke to me as an artist. I've never taken a role to intentionally hurt anyone or keep anyone else down. That's a pretty serious accusation to just throw out there." "I'm not accusing you of anything," Jennifer replied, her tone light but her words sharp. "I'm just asking you to acknowledge some uncomfortable truths. You've had opportunities that a lot of talented women haven't had. That's just a fact." The audience murmured. Some people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Julia's jaw tightened, but she kept her cool, at least for now. "Of course I've been fortunate," Julia said carefully. "I've never denied that. But you're framing this like I've done something wrong, like I've stolen opportunities from people. That's not fair. And honestly, it's beneath you as an interviewer." Jennifer laughed, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was the kind of laugh that lands like a slap. "Beneath me? Julia, I'm trying to have an honest conversation here. Maybe that's something you're not used to. Maybe you're used to people just praising you and telling you how wonderful you are." "Excuse me?" Julia's eyes flashed. The friendly guest persona was cracking now, revealing something harder underneath. "You invited me on your show to ambush me? Is that what this is?" "Nobody's ambushing anyone," Jennifer said, waving her hand dismissively. "You're being defensive because you don't want to face some hard truths. Look, I'm a black woman in this industry. I know what it's like to fight for scraps while other people get handed everything on a silver platter. So, yeah, I'm going to ask these questions." Julia leaned back in her chair, shaking her head in disbelief. "You don't know anything about my journey. You don't know what I've been through, or how hard I've worked. And using your own experiences to attack me? That's manipulative as hell, Jennifer." The audience gasped. Someone actually said, "Ooh," out loud. Jennifer's smile finally dropped completely, replaced by a cold stare that could freeze water. "Manipulative?" Jennifer's voice rose slightly. "I'm being manipulative for asking you to take some accountability? That's rich coming from someone who's built a career on playing America's sweetheart. And there it is." Julia shot back, her voice sharp now. "You resent me. This whole thing is about your resentment. You could have asked me these questions with respect, with genuine curiosity, but instead, you decided to turn this into some kind of takedown. Why? To make yourself look good? To score points with people watching at home?" Jennifer stood up from her chair, and the audience collectively held their breath. You want to talk about respect? How about respecting the experiences of women who've had to work twice as hard for half the recognition? How about acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, the system that made you a star wasn't exactly fair to everyone? Julia stood up too, matching Jennifer's energy. I've acknowledged systemic issues in Hollywood 100 times. I've used my platform to support other actresses. I've spoken out about inequality. I've put my money where my mouth is. But you're not interested in any of that, are you? You just want to tear me down on national television. Nobody's tearing you down, Jennifer snapped. You're just not used to being challenged. You're used to everyone kissing your ass and telling you how perfect you are. Well, guess what? This is my show, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like everything's fine when it's not. Julia's face flushed red. Her hands were shaking slightly, but her voice remained steady, like a surgeon with a scalpel. Your show? Is that what this is about? You want to prove something? You want to show everyone that you're brave enough to go after Julia Roberts? This isn't about bravery, Jennifer said, her voice getting louder. This is about truth. This is about having conversations that need to be had. No, Julia cut her off, her voice rising to match Jennifer's volume. This is about you using me to create a viral moment. This is about you sacrificing a guest, someone who came here in good faith, to boost your ratings and make yourself look like some kind of crusader for justice. The audience was completely silent now, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. Jennifer's face contorted with anger, and she pointed her finger at Julia. Don't you dare question my intentions, Jennifer said through gritted teeth. I've worked my ass off to build this platform, and I'm using it to talk about things that matter. If you can't handle that, maybe you should leave. Julia laughed bitterly. Oh, I'm going to leave. Don't worry about that. But before I do, let me tell you something. You had a chance tonight to have a real conversation, to actually discuss these issues in a meaningful way. Instead, you chose to attack me, to misrepresent my career, and to use social justice language as a weapon to make yourself feel superior. I didn't misrepresent anything, Jennifer shot back. I stated facts. I asked questions that people want answers to. You stated your opinions as facts, Julia corrected her voice now ice cold. And you asked loaded questions designed to make me look bad no matter how I answered them. That's not journalism, Jennifer. That's a hit job. Jennifer crossed her arms. If you feel attacked by simple questions about privilege, maybe that says more about you than it does about me. Julia shook her head slowly, and for a moment, she looked genuinely sad beneath the anger. You know what the worst part of this is? I actually admired you. I thought you were talented, genuine, someone who lifted other women up. But tonight you showed me exactly who you are. You're someone who tears others down to build yourself up. You're someone who uses important social issues as a cudgel to beat people with. How dare you? Jennifer said, her voice shaking with rage. How dare you come on my show and lecture me about social issues? You don't get to tell me how to use my platform. You don't get to tell me what's appropriate to discuss. And you don't get to ambush your guests and then act shocked when they defend themselves. Julia fired back. You set a trap tonight, and you know it. You brought me here under false pretenses so you could have your moment, so you could look tough in front of your audience. Jennifer took a step closer to Julia, and two producers rushed onto the stage, sensing the situation was about to spiral completely out of control. But neither woman backed down. If asking you to be accountable is an ambush, then, yeah, I guess I ambushed you, Jennifer said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. But here's what I think. I think you can't handle being questioned. I think you're so used to being protected by your status and your fame that the second someone pushes back even a little bit, you fall apart. Julia's eyes went wide, and she let out a short, sharp laugh that had no humor in it whatsoever. Fall apart? Jennifer, I'm not falling apart. I'm seeing you clearly for the first time. And what I see is someone who's insecure, someone who's jealous, and someone who's willing to destroy a guest's reputation just to feel powerful for 5 minutes. The producers tried to intervene, tried to calm things down, but both women ignored them completely. The audience sat frozen, unsure whether to clap, boo, or just sit in stunned silence. Most chose silence. Jealous? Jennifer repeated, her voice rising to a near shout. You think I'm jealous of you? Please, I've won an Oscar. I've built a career on actual talent, not just a pretty smile and good PR. That was the breaking point. Julia's face went from red to white, and when she spoke, her voice was quiet but absolutely lethal. You want to go there? Julia said softly. You want to make this about talent? Fine. Let's talk about how your show is struggling in the ratings. Let's talk about how you're desperately trying to create controversy because genuine conversation isn't working. Let's talk about how you're burning bridges with every A-list celebrity who sees this and realizes they can't trust you. Jennifer's mouth dropped open. Get the hell off my stage. Gladly, Julia snapped. I wouldn't stay here another second if you paid me. Nobody's paying you to be here, Jennifer shot back. You came here for the publicity, for the exposure, because your last movie barely made any money. So don't act like you're doing me a favor. Julia grabbed her purse from beside her chair, and her hands were shaking with rage. You know what? You're right about one thing. There does need to be more honest conversation in Hollywood. There needs to be more accountability. But that starts with people like you being honest about your motivations. You didn't bring me here tonight to have a conversation. You brought me here to sacrifice me at the altar of your ego. Oh, please, Jennifer said, rolling her eyes. Everything is so dramatic with you. You're not a victim here, Julia. You're just a privileged actress who got asked some tough questions and couldn't handle it. Tough questions? Julia's voice cracked with incredulity. You basically accused me of being a racist who stole opportunities from women of color. You did it with a smile on your face, like that somehow made it okay. And when I tried to defend myself, you twisted everything I said to make me look worse. Jennifer threw her hands up. I never called you a racist. But if that's what you heard, maybe you should examine why that word triggered you so much. Julia took a step toward the edge of the stage, then turned back one more time. You're a bully, Jennifer. You hide behind social justice language and your own identity to bully people. And the saddest part is that you probably believe you're doing something noble. You probably think you're fighting the good fight. But all you're doing is making it harder for people to have real conversations about real issues, because you've turned it into a blood sport. Get out, Jennifer said coldly. Seriously, just get the hell out of my studio. I'm already gone, Julia said. She yanked off the small microphone clipped to her blazer and dropped it on the floor. The sound of it hitting the ground echoed through the silent studio. And, by the way, everyone watching at home, this is what happens when someone values their ego more than their integrity. Remember this moment, because this show won't last much longer if this is how Jennifer treats her guests. Jennifer's face was purple with rage now. You have no idea what you're talking about. This show has been nothing but successful. People love it. People love me. Then why did you need to create a controversy tonight? Julia asked, her voice suddenly calm again, which somehow made it even more cutting. If everything's so great, why did you need to ambush me? Why did you need to manufacture drama? I'll tell you why. Because desperation smells like this. It smells like exactly what you did here tonight. I'm not desperate, Jennifer yelled. You're just mad because I didn't sit here and worship you like everyone else does. Julia shook her head one final time. No, Jennifer. I'm mad because you pretended to be something you're not. You pretended to care about having meaningful dialogue, but really, you just wanted a viral moment. You got it. Congratulations. I hope it was worth it. With that, Julia turned and walked toward the exit at the side of the stage. The producers scrambled to figure out what to do, whether to cut to commercial, whether to stop her, whether to do anything at all. Jennifer stood there, breathing hard, watching Julia leave. Yeah, run away, Jennifer called after her. That's what people like you do when you're confronted with uncomfortable truths. You run. Julia stopped at the exit and looked back one last time. For a moment, it seemed like she might say something else, might deliver one final blow. But instead, she just shook her head sadly, pushed through the door, and disappeared into the hallway beyond. The studio audience sat in absolute shock, unsure whether to applaud, whether to stay silent, whether to even breathe too loudly. Jennifer stood alone on her stage, chest heaving, makeup slightly smudged from the intensity of the confrontation. She looked out at the audience, and for just a second, Her mask slipped. You could see the panic in her eyes, the realization that maybe this had gone too far, that maybe she'd miscalculated. But then her jaw set, her shoulders squared, and she turned to face the cameras with defiant eyes. "Well," Jennifer said, her voice still shaking slightly, "I guess we all just saw what happens when you ask someone to be accountable. They can't handle it. They walk away." The audience remained silent. No applause, no cheers, just an uncomfortable quiet that seemed to stretch on forever. One of the producers finally signaled to cut to commercial, and as soon as the camera stopped rolling, the chaos truly began. Staff members rushed onto the stage, audience members started talking all at once, and somewhere in the hallway beyond, Julia Roberts was already calling her publicist, her lawyer, and anyone else who needed to know what had just happened. The confrontation was over, but the fallout was just beginning. In those 23 seconds that started everything, and in the brutal minutes that followed, two Hollywood powerhouses had gone to war on live television. One of them had walked off that stage with her dignity intact, having defended herself against what she saw as an ambush. The other stood alone in her studio, having gotten the viral moment she wanted, but at a cost she probably hadn't anticipated. The audience began to file out slowly, murmuring to each other, pulling out their phones to text friends and family about what they'd just witnessed. Within minutes, clips would be all over social media. Within hours, think pieces would be written. Within days, careers might be changed forever. But in that moment, in that studio, all that remained was the echo of raised voices, the ghost of accusations flung like grenades, and a tiny microphone lying abandoned on the floor where America's sweetheart had dropped it before walking away from a host who'd pushed too far, asked for too much, and revealed too clearly the calculating ambition beneath her smile.